The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Flowers, Alderman Bosley, Alderman Moore, Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderwoman Ingracia, Alderman Coder, Alderman Conway, Alderman Ortman, Alderman Vollmer, Alderman Villa, Alderman Arnowitz, Alderwoman Murphy, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Green, Alderwoman Behringer, Alderman Rhodey, Alderman Kennedy, Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman French, Alderman Boyd, Alderman Vaccaro, Alderman Ogilvie, Alderman Cone, Alderman Williamson, Alderman Carter, Alderwoman Cruzen, President Reed,
here.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Flowers, Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderman Conway, Alderman French. 23 present.
Quorum being present, we will be led today by Delta alumni member, Dr. Reverend Doris Graham from Prayer Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church. You know this is Delta Days. Let's give them a round of applause for coming out today. Reverend Graham.
This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Let us please bow our heads for a word of prayer. Oh, Heavenly Father, we come before your throne of grace as humble as we know how. We come thanking and praising your holy name because you are a great God, an awesome God, a good God, and we just thank you for all of your abundant blessings. And right now, oh God, we ask that you would look down and shower us with your grace and your mercy and most of all your love as we deliberate here in the Board of Aldermen room. Oh God, let your Holy Spirit just be within us and throughout this place, oh God, and bless Delta Sigma Theta, St. Louis alumni especially, for coming out and learning about what they can do to make things better in the city of St. Louis and throughout the region. Oh God, we ask that you bless each and every elected official. Won't you bless the president of the Board of Aldermen and shower him with wisdom and knowledge. We ask that you hear our prayer. In the mighty name of Jesus we pray. Thank God. Amen.
Amen. Also have up here at the dais with me today Ms. Mitchell Price, the president of the St. Louis Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. Let's give Ms. Price a round of applause, please. Stand. With that, we will dispense with our regular order of business, take up our courtesy resolution calendar, move for adoption of our courtesy resolution calendar, entertain a second on that motion, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th, Alderman from the 19th. If you'd like to approach the dais for the presentation of resolution number 10. I think they had it.
He took it. I'll speak for a moment. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome again to the Deltas. You have to understand that when you have a mighty organization that is global, it's an organization of women who are dedicated above and beyond the average individual. Most of them I know personally that are here today, and I appreciate the fact that I have that friendship with them. So it is an honor to present them with this resolution this morning, and I am asking the President to please come forward.
Can the Deltas join us up here?
And the Deltas could come up and join us. And as I normally do when I have the opportunity to present this resolution, I give all you aldermen a chance to know who your constituencies are that are standing up here, because they live all over the city and the region. And we're going to do a roll call as soon as they get up here, and you can identify who's your constituent. And make sure you have an opportunity to just shake their hand this morning. Okay? Right. So as we move forward, I'd like to first start off with knowing who we are. So if you are a resident of the 1st Ward, raise your hand.
Joyce Kirk.
Joyce?
Kirk. Joyce Scott Kirk. Alderwoman Tice is my alderwoman.
There you are, Joyce Kirk. She sees you over there, too. Yes. Okay. And Mrs. Richardson has her hand up as well. Okay. Ward 2 is Alderman Dion Flowers. Anybody live in Ward 2? Okay. Ward 3, of course, is our Freeman Bosley Sr., our wonderful guy. Okay. So we have Mavis Thompson, that's a resident of the Ward 3. Ward 4, Samuel Moore. Ward 5, Tamika Hubbard. Ward 6, Christina Gracia. Ward 7, Jack Coder. There's Jack Coder. That's your new alderperson for Ward 7. Okay, he was just elected. Ward 8, Steve Conway. Ward 9, Ken Ortman. Ward 10, where's he at? Oh, Joseph Vollmer. That's on the hill. You know, you go over there and get that good pasta. Ward 11, Tom Villa. Okay. Ward 12, and where are you? Okay, Larry Arnowitz. Okay. Ward 13, Beth Murphy. Ward 14, and there you are, Carol Howard. And a lot of you all are educators, and you know she's a former principal with St. Louis Public Schools. Ward 15, and there's Megan Green, and she's been here a short period of time too, about 6 months. Okay. Ward 16 is right over here, Donna Behringer. Ward 17 is Joseph Rohde, right here. Ward 18, there he is. And a lot of you all know Terry Kennedy. Yeah. Okay, so we have your name.
Kaytrude Palmer.
Kaytrude Palmer, Miss Palmer. Okay, you know Miss Palmer. And of course, I'm not sure how many people live in the 19th Ward. Where are you at? Oh, girl, I forget that. You know, because Sheila's such a close friend. You know, you just, that's my friend. I forget about it. I'm an alderman. Okay, Ward 20. There you are. And that's a new alderperson, Cara Spencer. She was just elected. Ward 21. Where are you at? I got to see you all. Okay, Antonio French. I don't see him right now. Ward 22 is Jeffrey Boyd.
Madam President, right behind you.
Okay, we have a constituent right here. Oh, the president of the Deltas. That's right. She lives in your ward. Yeah. Okay. Ward 23, and that's Joe Vaccaro. You heard from him this morning.
Yes.
Ward 24, over here is Scott Ogilvy. Ward 25 is Shane Cone. And he has part of Dutchtown. You know, you can get some fabulous food in Dutchtown as well. Ward 26 is Frank Williamson. Okay. Ward 27, there he is, Chris Carter. And Ward 28 is Lyda Cruson. She's right over here. Okay. So now so we've covered all the alderpersons. But what I'd like to do is, on behalf of the Board of Aldermen in the City of St. Louis, The Delta Sigma Theta sorority was founded, of course, in January 1913. So we're talking about over 100 years of history and dedication to being involved in communities and helping the social justice and everything else that is involved in making sure that people have a quality of life. So all that you do on behalf of residents in the city of St. Louis, we appreciate, and on this day, it is Delta Day. Thank you. All right?
Thank
and Ms. Where's the president at? Oh, here you are. There we go. All right. Did you want to say a few words? Of course. Come on, right up here.
Good morning, and thank you for having us here today. I'm Michelle Price, president of the St. Louis Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and we are glad to be here today to meet with you at Delta Day at St. Louis City Hall. We'd like to thank President Lewis Reed and the Board of Aldermen for the service and for your commitment to the City of St. Louis. I'd like to thank the chairs of our Social Action and Political Awareness Committee and the members, Carol Strawbridge, Beverly Goldman, Maybelline Julian, and Beverly Dummett for working with the Board of Aldermen to have us here today to talk about some of the critical issues that are affecting the city of St. Louis. So we thank you for everything that you do for the city, and we're glad to be here on today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now you all need to stay up here because the president's going to come up and speak. Why don't you stay here so they can take a picture of you up here, and the president wants to speak very briefly.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? I also want to just add my thanks and my family and people all across the city who aren't able to be here today to thank the Deltas for all the work that you do throughout our community. The Deltas are working hard in everything from education to health care, every sector of things that impact our city on a daily basis. I think you may be the only sorority that has sent a woman to outer space, right? I think she was a Delta, am I correct? She is a Delta. And you guys have done tremendous things. I know as a father of two great, beautiful young women, I am so honored to have strong women in the Deltas leading the city of St. Louis and leading almost every sector of business in the city. So thank you for all that you continue to do. On behalf of the residents of the city and the Board of Aldermen, we really thank you and cannot, express it enough. All that we care and appreciate what you've done thus far in the city of St. Louis. So another great Delta Days. Get an opportunity to come over and talk to the Deltas throughout the meeting. They're going to also be over in the Kennedy room directly following the meeting. So let's make sure to go over there and welcome the Deltas. Let's give them one more round of applause.
He got his picture, I think.
I think he just wanted to do it.
Okay, you want to turn?
Hey, Marty, you want to go?
Okay, you get a turn. Okay. You guys get in front, because I'm taller, and I got heels on, too.
Oh, look at you trying to brag.
You all get in front. Come on.
Maybelline.
Come on. Come on. Now you're going to get lost.
Where are you going? You going around?
She took you around. Okay.
Well, he said, go right there. I'll go down.
Okay.
I'm going to go right there.
Yeah. Right in there. You be seen right there. Like so.
It's always a great day on Delta Days. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt our courtesy resolution calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. That will return our regular order of business. Introduction of honored guests. Any introduction of honored guests? Alderman from the 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. It would indeed be my honor to have as my personal guest Ms. Michelle Price, president of the local chapter of the Deltas. Also, Mr. Leroy Grant and Chris Pickle with AT&T. Thank you.
All right, welcome. Alderman from the 27th.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I would like to have as my honored guest my aunt, Major Rochelle Jones, and she's a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. So thanks.
All right, excellent. Alderman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to have for my honored guest today, Maureen McDonald from the St. Louis Association of Realtors and her guest.
All right, thanks, Alderman from the 9th. Alderwoman from the 14th.
Good morning, Mr. President. I'd like to have a special greeting to Dr. Doris Graham, my former colleague and good friend. Haven't seen you in a while, but we're doing good, girl.
Yeah.
Gary Otten from the Painters District Council, Jeff Hans, Carpenters Union, Demetrius Alfred from Firefighters Local 73. Welcome.
Alderwoman from the 1st.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to have as my special guest and my long-term friend, Ms. Joanne Williams, no longer of the Carpenters, but always of the real 20th Ward, and always a friend in my heart.
All right, thank you. Alderwoman from the 16th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I would like to have as my special guest today, Gina Hackenworth with Ameren.
Alderman from the 18th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to welcome as my special guest today, Mr. Brian Murphy, to my left, longtime 18th Ward resident and the past CDA director of the City of St. Louis. He's also with BAM Contracting Company. I'd like to welcome him today. Also, I'd like to recognize our longtime resident and head of our Fountain Park Neighbors Association, Ms. Kay Palmer, who's also a Delta. Thank you.
Any further introductions? Alderwoman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I wanted to just welcome all of the union representatives, because I can't remember everybody that's out there, but they are being a strong part of what is happening with the region as far as getting people into apprenticeship programs and understanding the trades and moving forward in a positive way. And I just want to say thank you, because we all got a long way to go, and without your help, we can't get it done. And most especially, I want to thank IBEW, one, because they're about to have a very strong project in my ward. They're going to have a museum on Martin Luther King, the 2700 block for the Electrical Union. And they're bringing their convention here next year. So I just want to applaud you for making that effort. Young people will be able to get in there and understand a lot about what's going on with the electrical program. And I see one of my partners in crime over here, C. Sharp, and this is a young man who's all about getting young people to understand to stay on the right path, be educated, be good citizens. He's doing a public school tour. I'll be speaking at Vashon for you, and I hope another number of aldermen would also talk to you and get involved with your project. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 20th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to recognize a special guest today, Damian Johnson, who's a constituent of mine and a community activist. And I'd like to also recognize C Sharp. I'll also be participating in the school tour. And so I thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for coming, C. Any further introductions? Any further? Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I'd like to recognize Ms. Mavis Thompson,
Boss
license
T.
collector. Also, Ms. Kim Banks, and all those of you who are not special guests. Thank you.
All right. Any further introductions? Any further introductions? Also want to just send a shout out to C Sharp. This young man is working so hard throughout our community all the time. Whenever he's in town and he's not doing concerts someplace, like the Alderwoman said, and the Alderwoman from the 19th and Alderwoman from the 20th said, he is on the ground working with kids, trying to make sure people are doing the right thing. Let's give him one more round of applause. Alderman from the 10th would like to wrap us up.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. We're gathered here on May 8th, and many great things and many great people were born this day. I mean, Harry Truman's birthday today. Robert Johnson, King of the Blues, is his birthday today. It's VE Day, but I can't concentrate on anything due to the glorious suit that our clerk is wearing today. I'd like to thank him for supplying a walking test pattern for TV. Thank you.
Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move for the approval of the minutes of April 21st, 2015.
Moved by the Alderman from the 18th, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in sections A, B, and C of the agenda and have been placed in all Aldermen's mailboxes.
We will dispense with line items 7 through 10. First reading of board bills.
Board Bill 47, sponsored by Alderman French, and ordinance recommended to change the zoning of property from A single-family dwelling district to the F neighborhood commercial district in City Block 4403 for property on Marcus and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 48, sponsored by Alderman Bosley, and ordinance recommended by the Parking Commission making appropriation for payment of the operating expenses, capital equipment improvement expenses, including lease purchase agreements involving the parking division assets, debt service expenses of the parking division of the Treasurer's Office, Kiel and City Hall parking facilities, Office of Financial Empowerment, Argyle Parking Facilities, Shoto Building and Parking Facilities, William Paper Parking Facility, Central Downtown Parking Facility, Buckingham Parking Facilities, Couples Parking Facility, Justice Parking Facilities, amounting in the aggregate sum of $17,530,084 and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 49, sponsored by Alderman Vaccaro, an ordinance pertaining to the definition of the lowest possible bidder as cited in Section 4 of Article 22 of the City Charter and bidding and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 50, sponsored by Alderman Honorwitz, an ordinance establishing a stop sign for all eastbound and westbound traffic traveling on Loughborough at Field, causing it to be a three-way stop intersection and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 51, sponsored by Alderwoman Behringer, an ordinance relating to St. Louis City Ordinance 66868, allocating the revenue of the city collects by enforcing the automated traffic control system to the Crime Reduction and Professional Building Policing Fund to be used for the hiring and retaining of police officers, investing in programs to reduce crime, and training police officers in the community policing, customer service, bias recognition, mental health, and policing and a diverse city, and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 52, sponsored by Alderwoman Behringer, an ordinance providing for and directing the submission to the qualified electors a proposal to increase the motor vehicle license tax rates to provide revenue for the city to fund the Crime Reduction and Professional Policing Fund, amending the provisions of Section 4 of said ordinance as replacing said Section 4 to read as contained herein and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 53, sponsored by Alderwoman Behringer, an ordinance relating to the license tax on the operation of public garages imposed pursuant to Section 4 of Ordinance 48891, repealing subject to the approval of qualified voters in Section 4 of Ordinance 48891, enacting in lieu thereof a new Section 4 imposing an increased license tax on the gross receipt of public garages, directing that the revenue generated pursuant to the increase in the license tax and the operation of public garages be deposited in the crime reduction and professional policing fund, submitting to the qualified voters of the city proposition to approve the increase in the license tax on the operation of public garages and containing a severability clause and an emergency clause. Board Bill 54, sponsored by Alderwoman Behringer, an ordinance establishing the crime reduction and professional policing fund and containing an emergency clause. That's the extent of our first reading.
Reference to committee.
To the Housing Committee, Board Bill 47. To the Ways and Means Committee, Board Bill 49. To the Streets Committee, Board Bills 48 and 50. And to the Public Safety Committee, Board Bills 51, 52, 53, and 54. That's the extent of reference to committees.
We will dispense with line items 13 through 19. First reading resolutions.
Resolution 13, sponsored by Alderman Boyd. The Board of Aldermen requests all documents requested by the Alderman Jeffrey L. Boyd to be delivered to him immediately as required by the Missouri Sunshine Law.
Alderman from 22nd, you recognize.
Mr. President, members of the board, Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution?
Madam Clerk, I'm not allowing the reading of that resolution. Alderman, have you read the Sunshine Law? Do you understand what records, have you read the section for records retention schedule? Alderman from 22nd. Please.
Pursuant to the rules, Mr. President, I am allowed to have the resolution read, and I'd like to have the resolution read.
I understand that, but again, have you read this section of the Sunshine Law?
Mr. President, please have the resolution read.
If you would like to read the resolution, please proceed, Alderman.
In accordance with our rules, Mr. President, I am invoking my privilege as an Alderman in accordance with our rules to ask the clerk to read the resolution.
I'm trying to save you, but if you want to go, let's go. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution, then we'll discuss it further.
Resolution 13, whereas the Board of Aldermen is a public governmental body, and whereas each public governmental body is to appoint a custodian who is to be qualified for the maintenance of the body's records, and whereas each public governmental body shall make available for inspection and copying by the public of that body's public records, and whereas each request for access to a public record shall be acted upon as soon as possible, but in no event later than the end of third business day following the date of the request is received by the custodian of records of a public governmental body. And whereas a request for access is denied, the custodian shall provide upon request a written statement of the grounds for such denial. And whereas on April the 6th, 2015, the Board of Aldermen President Office sent a request for a committee assignment form to all members of the board via City of St. Louis email service. And whereas the form used to request preferences was produced on the President of the Board of Aldermen letterhead and was previously mailed to all members of the board to their homes using an official Board of Aldermen envelope paid for by the taxpayer's expense. And whereas on April the 17th, 2015, 22nd Ward Alderman Jeffrey L. Boyd emailed a request for copies of all members of the board committee assignments preferences to the President of the Board, Lewis Reed, to no avail. And whereas on April the 29th, 2015, 22nd Ward Alderman Jeffrey L. Boyd made it a second request for copies of all members of the board committee assignment preferences to the President of the Board, Lewis Reed, to no avail. And whereas on May the 1st, 2015, at a regularly scheduled Board of Aldermen meeting, 22nd Ward Alderman Jeffrey L. Boyd made a third request publicly to the President, Lewis Lewis Reed, who refused to honor the request, and whereas compliance to the Sunshine Law is an essential component of good government, and whereas by all appearances President Reed has willfully violated Missouri Sunshine Law, Missouri State Statute 610.023, which is punishable by law. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Aldermen that all documents requested by Alderman Jeffrey L. Boyd be delivered to him immediately as required by the Missouri Sunshine Law, introduced on the 8th day of May 2015 by Honorable Jeffrey L. Boyd, Alderman, 22nd Ward.
Again, Alderman, you know, I'm trying as best I can not to get you to continue to walk down this road because it is a dead-end road. And I'd rather not do this publicly, but again, have you read the Sunshine Law? Have you read and do you understand the components of the Sunshine Law? There's been an objection to unanimous consent. Again, Alderman, here, before we move further, I'm gonna try one more time to help you out. Okay, the survey form that we sent out to the board, the caucus action, the survey form that we sent out to the board, in the Missouri Sunshine Law under non-records, and I'll read it to you, and I'm going to invite you to go pull this section. Not all recorded information is record. According to section 109.210 subsection 5, the following are non-records: library and museum materials made or acquired aren't required to be preserved solely for, or they're solely for reference or exhibition purposes. Extra copies of documents are not to be preserved, so on and so forth. A number of things like that. But the last bullet point says survey forms. So the survey form that we sent out to the board to survey, to ask them what committees they would like. Last week I said, your members are here, just go ask them for the documents. I'm sure they'll give them to you. That's not information that we store or maintain, and we're not required to according to Missouri Sunshine Law. So I'm asking you to try to work with all of us so that we can get some work done this session, so that we can begin to operate as a board. Alderman from the first.
Are we going to send this to committee or not? Because I don't think we're on discussion right now. So I would ask that the aldermen send this to committee where we can have all of this discussion. Or you try to pass it on the floor. But because otherwise discussion is not supposed to be going on. He's had it read, it is supposed to be sent to committee or passed on the floor. So that's all I'm asking. What are we doing? Is he doing a motion to have this passed, or is he sending it to committee?
I
know what you're trying to do, but I'm trying to help him out. But we're having a conversation that's out of order right now. Well, I'm saying that he needs to send that to committee, or he needs to pass it on the floor, and then then we can have discussion. But discussion right now is out of order.
And that would be true if we were on board bills, but on resolutions, you can have
So you're overruling my point of order?
No, I'm not overruling your point of order. But Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize.
Mr. President, I made a motion for unanimous consent. I understand there was an objection. Mr. President, I move for suspension of the rules for the purpose of discussing resolution number 13.
All right, so now we're going to, now a motion to suspend the rules for the purposes of discussing it, you can suspend the, I think what you mean to do is suspend the rules for the purposes of trying to adopt this resolution today. Excuse me again? Alderman from the 22nd, please proceed. And then couldn't get that.
I move to adopt resolution number 13 via suspension of the rules.
No, that's not the way it's done either.
Okay.
First thing you'd have to do is move to suspend the rules. Okay. Hold on a second, I'm trying to help you all. First thing you'd have to do is first move to suspend the rules. And if that's sustained, then you move to adopt the resolution, right? So that's the process. So first thing you want to do is to move to suspend the rules for the purposes of adopting resolution number whatever on the day. Otherwise, we'd have to move to send it back to committee. So would you like to move to suspend the rules?
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules for the purpose of adopting resolution number 13.
It's been moved by the Alderman. It's been moved by the Alderman from the 22nd. Entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 26th. So if we suspend the rules, on this today, then he gets an opportunity to vote it out today and have the whole board vote to adopt this resolution today, in which case we have to go to committee and burn up, I don't know how much more time than we've already had done. I'm sorry. So it's been moved by the Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by the Alderman from the 26th, that we suspend our rules for the purposes of taking up resolution number 13 today on the floor of the Board of Aldermen. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Flowers. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderman Coder. No. Alderman Conway. No. Alderman Ortman. No. Alderman Vollmer. No. Alderman Villa. No. Alderman Arnowitz. No. Alderwoman Murphy. Alderwoman Howard. No. Alderwoman Green. No. Alderwoman Behringer. Alderwoman Behringer. Alderman Rhodey. Alderman Kennedy. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman French. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Ogilvie. Alderman Cone. Alderman Williamson. Alderman Carter. No. Alderwoman Cruzen. No. President Reed.
No.
Alderwoman Flowers. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderman Ortman. Alderwoman Behringer. No. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Ogilvie. Alderman Williamson. Two aye votes, 23 no votes.
By your vote, you failed to sustain the motion. Alderman from the 22nd. Alderman from the 22nd, I'm asking you one more time. You know, I don't know any other way to say it. Let's try to get past this and try to work together so that we can have a productive session. We can spend the rest of the session on this one subject, or we can try to get something done. That's what these folks are expecting from us. That's what the people who elected you, me, and other people down here, that's what they're expecting from us. So I'm asking you to get that mindset so that we can get some work done this session. But you have every right as an alderman to continue down this path. So Alderman from 22nd, you're recognized.
Mr. President, make no mistake about it. This did not have to be a public theatrical display of public government. This was a simple request that you refused to honor.
Again, that's why I asked you if you have read, Alderman, again, I asked you clearly, have you read the Sunshine Law? Number one. Number two, we've never received a sunshine request from you. So, you know, I'm asking you one more time, just let's try to move on so we can get some work done this session, please. I'm asking you as a friend, as a city resident, let's try to get some work done this session. On the 22nd, you're recognized.
Now, Mr. President, if you're going to have conversation with me, then have the conversation with me. But you can't cut me off and then have your dialogue and not allow me to respond.
Alderman, as the chairman, I have to be able to manage the floor. If you want to have an open discussion with me, let's sit down after the meeting, right? And I'm always willing to sit down and have an open discussion with you, and you know that. But you want to try to play this out in public, and again, it is serving nobody's good. This is a waste of taxpayers' money today. We wouldn't even be here today if you would have just take 10 minutes to read through the Missouri State statute. But we have to play this out. I've tried and tried and tried, and I'm still trying. I'm asking you again, can we move on? Can we get some work done this session? There are a lot of important things we're faced with. We're trying to get a general obligation bond, $180 million, so that our public safety workers can have some of the things they need, and on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Please move on. So, Alderman, I'm asking you one more time, let's try to work together to get some work done. Alderman, you're recognized.
Do you believe in transparency?
Absolutely.
It doesn't seem.
Alderman from the 21st and the 19th.
Yeah, I call the point of order, Mr. President. It seems like we're really off of our agenda here.
We are absolutely off our agenda.
Does the Alderman from the 22nd have a motion, or?
Alderman from the 22nd, do you have a motion?
I move that resolution number 13 go to the legislation committee.
And of course, I'm not supporting that because resolution number 13 is false on its face, and it's just going to continue to burn more time of that a lot of us don't have. Alderwoman from the 19th, you're recognized.
Mr. President, my point of order was that we were having a discussion which was not allowable at that point. Yeah. But what I do want to say is that our process and procedures here at the Board of Aldermen, I would like for us to have that opportunity to let's just have it in a formal discussion in committee, and that way it's over and done with.
Yeah, not on this resolution. I'm not supporting this resolution. This resolution is false on its face. No. No, the resolution is false on its face, and it's just an attempt to continue to burn more of our city's time, more of these members' time, and we need to move on. So no, I'm not. I don't think so. Alderman from the 11th.
Mr. President, I would move that I have a substitute motion, which is in order that Board Resolution number 13 be assigned to committee.
Okay. Alderman from 28th.
My point of order was going to be that I believe there's already a motion on the floor.
There's always.
So maybe we shouldn't be discussing this right now, but we ought to either have a second and send it to committee or not send it to committee.
Exactly right. Exactly right. It's been a motion by the Alderman from the 22nd to send this resolution to the legislation committee. Entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from 28th. Alderman from the 1st, you recognize?
Do a point of order, but now it's been a second, so I'll get out of this. Can I just say the president has a right you're going to send it to a committee, but you have the right to send it to the committee of your choice unless it's some very specific things like public safety and things like that. So he has a right to send it to committee. He does not have to send it to the committee that we ask. But I'm just going to vote on this, and I hope after we take this vote that we leave this alone and move on, because you guys are not going to convince each other, okay?
Yeah. If we, just so it's clear, if we vote in the affirmative to send this thing to committee, it stays alive forever, because then legislation committee will have to, adjourn hearings on it. People have to come down, and we'll have to continue to discuss the Sunshine Law over and over again. If we vote it down today, it's done, and then we have an opportunity. Then the Alderman from the 22nd has an opportunity to go talk to each one of his colleagues. Alderman.
Okay, so whether we vote this down to go to the legislative committee or not, you still have to assign it to a committee. Then the chair has the right to hear it or not. It is your choice, but it gets assigned to a committee. It has been introduced, okay? No. So you're telling me that you're saying that it's dead if we don't send it to any committee?
Exactly right.
That is your understanding?
Yeah, that is the rule. Resolutions are different than board bills. So under resolutions, on the day that they're introduced, you have a couple choices. Number one, you suspend the rules and take it out, pass it out that day. You can adopt it through unanimous consent or send it to committee. Those are your three options. If you do not pass any of those, that resolution is dead on that day, and you move on past it. If you vote to send it to a committee, it is assigned to that committee that you took the vote on to send it to, right? This is a resolution that, again, is a personal thing that the Alderman from the 22nd is involved in, and it continues to waste our time, and I certainly will appreciate it if it was not sent to committee so that we don't have to continue to go down this road. It's been moved and seconded that we assign resolution number 13 to the legislation committee. Alderman from first.
On my point, I would like to read to you reference to committee says, my point of order, except for those resolutions receiving unanimous consent, a resolution shall be assigned to the resolution to committee or to such other committees approved by the board after the resolution is first read. Yes. So my point again is that even if it doesn't go to legislation, which I'm not going to vote for, you still are supposed to assign it to a committee. Then the committee chair has the right, has so many days to hear it. If that doesn't happen, then the alderman has something else. But it is supposed to once we introduce it. So I don't want to take away my right.
No, I think we're saying the same thing. So if it's voted down today, the resolution is essentially dead, basically.
No, it's supposed to go to committee.
Because it's not approved today, it'll go to the resolutions committee.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say. Okay.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Well, it's been moved by the alderman from the 22nd that we sign resolution number 13 of the resolutions committee, legislation committee. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Flowers. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderman Coder. Alderman Conway. Alderman Ortman. Aye. Alderman Vollmer. Aye. Alderman Villa. No. Alderman Arnowitz. No. Alderwoman Murphy. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. No. Alderwoman Behringer. Aye. Alderman Rhodey. No. Alderman Kennedy. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman French. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Ogilvie. Alderman Cone. Alderman Williamson. Alderman Carter. Alderwoman Cruzen. President Reed.
No.
Alderwoman Flowers. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderman Ogilvie. 8 aye votes, 17 no votes. Is that what you got?
By your vote, you
I'm
failed?
sorry, I skipped Flowers. Alderwoman Howard. Okay. 8 aye votes, 17 no votes.
By your vote, you failed to sustain the motion, Alderman from the 22nd. Alderman, we're done. You've moved to suspend the rules. You've moved to try to vote it out and all that stuff. We're moved past that now. Mr. Clerk?
That's the extent of first reading of resolutions.
Mr. Clerk?
She read the first part. Shall be assigned to the resolution made for such others approved by the board after the resolutions failed to get that. That's how I interpret it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Alderman, please, you said you have a point of order now.
Where are we?
Here's where we are now. The resolution number 13 is dead. According to the rules, if you read the rest of the rule. But if you need time after the meeting, I'll sit down with you and go over the rule with you a little bit later, but we're moving on now. Second reading of resolutions.
We have none.
Miscellaneous unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Friday, full board meeting, 10 a.m. in the chambers. That's the extent of my announcements.
Alderman from the 27th, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I would like to announce my good friend, it's his 25th birthday. Alderman Terry Kennedy just turned 25. And I would like for everybody to wish him a happy birthday,
Alderman. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 8th.
President, members of the board, we will have a Ways and Means Committee hearing meeting Thursday at 8:30 a.m. We will be taking up 2 bills at that point in time, the GO bond bill and the P&G bill. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alderman. Alderman from the 25th.
I would just like to take a moment this morning to wish all the mothers a happy Mother's Day this Sunday. I hope to spend some time with my mom Sunday morning and cook her brunch, so I hope everyone in the room takes a little bit of time this weekend to thank a mom and thank your own mom if she's still around, and thank you to all of the hardworking moms out there raising families in this country.
All right, thank you. Alderwoman from the 19th.
Mr. President, members of the board, I would like to ask that we take a moment of silence. Our Major Caruso lost his mom, and the funeral is taking place at this moment. Okay. Will you please allow it?
Absolutely. Can I ask everyone in the chambers and the galleries who's able to rise to please stand and let's offer a moment of silence to the mother of Major Caruso.
Thank you very much. Okay. I have mine.
All right, thank you, Alderman.
Very quickly, I'd just like to announce that we have opened a new addition to the Pulitzer Foundation, and everything there is free, along with the Contemporary Art Museum, and that's a great place for young people to go and learn a lot about different forms of art. We did 2 dedications in the Tiffany neighborhood for new homes, Habitat Homes. We recently had another groundbreaking for St. Louis University for student housing. And the Save Our Sons program, as most of you know, has been operating well. They're about to have their 3rd graduation of folks, and we'll be building a new facility. Please share information with your constituency about SLATE. Most people think SLATE is just a summer job program, but it is not. It's a metropolitan resource, and for the region, it is an employer. So any job that anyone would be looking for, they can get it through SLATE and get help to do that. Whether you are a physician, a nurse, engineer, it doesn't matter. Go to SLATE. I am initiating a new program with partnership with iHeartMedia, which is Clear Channel, and we're going to do community block parties. There's a lot of information that needs to be given, and we just can't seem to get enough of it out there. So we're going to start at Chambers Park on June 18th, and partners will be Urban Strategies at that one, Reliance Bank, the Urban League Head Start program, and a number of other entities. But our goal is to move this around the city of St. Louis. If you are interested, let me know, and I'll give you the contact information so that you can have one in your ward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 16th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Weather permitting, because unfortunately it may cancel some of these events, but St. Raphael's has their parish picnic today and tomorrow. And then we have park cleanup in Francis Park tomorrow. And that is a very big deal because all the residents who live in and around spend 2 times a year taking care of that park. And that's why it looks so nice, because of all the efforts of all the volunteers. And then we just opened a coffee shop inside of Francis Park, so we're welcoming people to come by, have a cup of coffee, check out the park. And there was one other thing, I apologize, but yeah. Oh, wiffle ball tournament. There's a fundraising wiffle ball tournament in Francis Park. So hopefully the weather will let those things happen.
All right, excellent, thank you all. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 14th.
I would like to announce that Better Bevo Now is sponsoring a cleanup of the Grabois Morgan Ford area on Saturday. Meet there at the Bevo and help out.
All right. Any further announcements? Alderman from the 22nd, I'm going to recognize you on an announcement, but please let it be a legitimate announcement. And if you have a legitimate announcement, I will recognize you. Otherwise, we're moving on. Do you have a legitimate announcement?
I have a point of order, Mr. President.
Please state your point of order, Alderman.
Mr. President, my point of order is according to Rule 73, the resolution.
Alderman, if you're back on the resolution, your point of order is out of time. We've moved past that point on the agenda, and we're moving on. Alderman, any further announcements? Any further announcements? A legitimate announcement? Alderman from the 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. This evening in the Central West End is something called Local Social, or Social Local. I'm not sure which it is, but there'll be I hope the weather clears off, because 6 to 9 this evening in the Central West End, Euclid and McPherson and Maryland will be street performers, and art galleries will be open, and it'll be a fun time for all. So please visit us this evening.
All right. Thank you, Alderwoman. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 18th, recognized on the motion to excuse.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, I move to excuse the Alderman from the 2nd and the 5th wards for necessary absence.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 18th. I entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion to adjourn.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, I move to adjourn the board until Friday, May 15th, 10 a.m.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 18th, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned.